Well, first off, thank you for coming to the podcast. Driving up here. Can y'all introduce yourselves and let everybody know what organization that you're repping these days?
Okay, great. I'm Sandra Waldrop. We are here representing the Park Patriots of Brazoria County. Amy Baldridge.
Yeah, so I'm Amy Baldridge. I'm from West Columbia, Texas, and I am also here as a representative for the Park Patriots of Brazoria County.
What are the Park Patriots of Brazoria County?
So the Park Patriots of Brazoria County is a very kind of a funny name, right? I guess you would consider us an activist group, although we don't do a whole lot anymore. We started out doing protests at the parks during the shutdown, when all the parks were closed and, people were actually being arrested for letting their kids play at the park.
In Lake Jackson?
No.
Okay.
Nobody actually got arrested. We got threatened with arrest. And the way this all got started was that one of the moms got threatened to be arrested in Angleton just from letting her kids play. And she made a post on Facebook and we were like, what?
And that's how the group kind of formed? It was just okay.
Yeah, she took her kids to the park just to have lunch, and the kids went under the caution tape and they were playing, and the park workers called the cops and they showed up and they were like, no, you are not going to have your kids out here playing. Oh my goodness,
That's ridiculous.
Lawbreakers.
It was during the middle of the pandemic?
Yeah.
In 2020?
The very first part of it, during the shutdown.
What is that, March April?
The first 2 weeks.
Oh.
The first set of 2 weeks or whatever.
Oh.
No.
Yeah, so that's when it wasn't really set in. You would go out and it wasn't normal at that time.
Yeah.
Saw caution tape, yeah, right. This thing's going to pass in a couple weeks or something, and it turned out to be.
I thought it was something different. I thought everyone was kind of scared in the very beginning because no one really actually knew, right?
Yeah.
We didn't really know what it was until.
I feel like the more information that came out, it was people started to get a little more scared because I don't think we knew if this was the flu or something that we're used to, not this thing that's.
Yeah, I think it was probably harder for super extroverted people like myself. I was like, so we're still getting together for Easter, right? And everyone was like, no, we're not doing Easter. And I was like, what do you mean? It's been 2 weeks. I did my time.
And you cook too. Yes. So I imagine you host family events and stuff since you cook.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes Amy hosts a lot of them.
Yes, we have lots of gatherings in my home as well. She's not just my friend, but adopted family also.
Oh, wow.
You're stuck with me, huh?
Yes.
We're best friends, right?
So it started. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, do you cook too?
Yes, I cook too.
Did she teach you?
I'm sure she's taught me some things, but
I don't remember.
we all have our own skills, so
yeah.
Well, that's good.
I don't cook as homemade as she does, though. I do, the box macaroni and cheese still. So, but I cook home stuff too. Little mix.
Yeah, that's my jam. Cereal, toast, mac and cheese.
God dang, man! All the healthy stuff
all together.
So it started from a Facebook post.
Yeah.
Where is it male and female? Is it a bunch of moms? What's the group look like?
There's a majority of moms because the dads are all working. But we did have some dads show up to the park protests. And that was fun because it was just nice to have a male presence, especially when you've got these cops showing up with all their gear and, their intimidating stature and voices. And
So where was the first protest at?
The first one was at McLean Park in Lake Jackson.
Okay.
We went up in there and ripped down the caution tape and
Oh,
said,
shit.
go play.
How many people were on the first one?
Oh, man.
About?
How many were there? My son was there. Do you remember how many?
Oh, my gosh.
You're on the spot.
There's a photo, isn't there?
Did you have a sign?
There, I'd say probably maybe 30, 40.
Oh, that's a good turnout.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's us with all of our kids. So I've got 4. One of the moms had 6 or 7 kids.
So
there's 2 adults and, and the rest are kids.
40 children.
So what was the thinking? What were y'all expecting out of the first protest? Were y'all thinking it was going to be like a long-term group that was going to be formed and manifest into this movement, or?
No, not really. We were just like, no, they're not going to tell us what to do with our kids. Let's go out here and kind of ruffle some feathers and make some noise and let them know, no, we're not going to stand for this. And so, it just kind of snowballed in a good way, I guess, because we were, even after we got the parks open back up, we were still able to keep communicating and talking about, well, what's the government doing now? What's the government doing now? What do we have to worry about now? And just kind of, keeping that looking forward, what we need to continue to worry about.
Did you have any members in the group that were had experience with activism and like how to approach it and how to do it right? Because I'm sure there's ways you can get in trouble. Like I'm sure there's rules to it, how far you can go, peaceful protesting and things like that.
Do you know of anybody?
Didn't you have someone show up to one of the events?
This last one, we had a guy show up that had previously had some run-ins, but his was like more of a Second Amendment approach, what he was dealing with. I don't know that we really have anybody with experience.
We're just normal people living our lives.
Yeah.
Not a lot of expertise in the areas, just what we have researched ourselves, and again, we're not experts, so we try not to make mistakes.
Yeah.
But
and how is after during the first protest, what happened? Did cops kind of surround you and watch you? Did they talk to y'all? I mean, how did it work?
So we went out there, huge group, and the park, the groundskeepers, they came up and they were like, y'all can't be playing here. It's taped off. And we're like, this is public property. Our tax dollars go to this. Our kids are going to play. And he's like, no, it's taped off because you guys can't play. And I was like, well, they are playing. And if you don't like it, do something.
Man. You get one of the
punk.
Yeah. Is that what it's called?
And he was like, all right, I'll call the cops. I was like, you do that. So he did. They showed up, and we all got to speak with the cops. Basically, they stood here and we stood here as a group, and they said what they were going to say, and we're like, hey, it's our First Amendment right to be able to come out here and protest. And their argument was, well, you don't protest a speed limit by racing down the highway. And that's true, but you're comparing apples and oranges, right? Like, we're not putting anybody in immediate danger. We're exposing our kids to sunlight and laughter, happy hormones and vitamins and things like that. There is no real immediate danger with a child playing at the park, right? And so we kind of went back and forth with him on that, arguing about, government overreach and how we weren't going to stand for it. And, Ryan made the good point of history repeating itself. You give the government, you start giving the government your freedoms, and they'll just keep taking them. They'll create one emergency order after another one, and everything's an emergency, right? And so we just continued to kind of hash it out with them. And the main officer, after a while, he was like, you know what? Why don't you guys go talk to city council? Because they're the ones who can really make the change here. If you guys don't like it, they'd be the ones to talk to. We have to do our job, and our job is to not have you guys out here. And we're like, okay, well, thanks for pointing us in the right direction. We all loaded up our kids and headed on down to city council.
Oh, right away.
Yes.
Right away.
That's got to be tough for a police officer to enforce those kind of laws. He or she are just doing a job. They're kind of the middleman of whether it's egregious laws or not. It's got to be tough for them.
Yeah.
Did y'all receive have y'all received any kind of pushback from other local activists at other events?
I mean, there's not been any counter protesters or anything like that. Just mostly, mean, comments on, YouTube
online.
or something like that.
Really? Like
on YouTube.
What
You
kind
got
of
the YouTube videos?
Yeah, we posted some videos of the protests that we did.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we're negligent, according to a lot of moms out there, and we're wasting the police officers' time with our ridiculous stuff. Like, they've got better things to be doing. Yeah, they do. Go do it. Leave us to play. Like, we're not asking you to be out here.
What about all the other protests that were happening, like during the pandemic and before? Like, are those okay protests to have? And like, what's the difference between those protests and your protests?
Well, those weren't protests. Those were riots. So I would never take my 6-year-old to a Target to like loot and burn down the place. Right. But I'll take her to city council to explain to, the council members that, hey, if you're concerned about liability, put up a sign and let us make the choice.
Yeah.
How did that go? So y'all packed up and went to city council, and were you able to just all get, I mean, this is COVID times too. Were you all able to just all get in and go talk to someone immediately? Do they say, make a meeting? We're not going to talk to you guys?
Yeah, no, he came out, like the head guy of the city council at the time came out and spoke to us, Mondo something.
The city manager, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he came out, like the ladies in the office, like their eyes were huge. They're like, you've got a mob out here. I think you need to come out.
Y'all rolling, what, 40 deep?
Yeah.
All the kids.
Yeah.
Tiny
A lot of kids,
beer,
but
yeah.
still intimidating.
Yeah, right. Little kid walks up and kicks him in the shin. Just kidding. Nobody did that.
We'll check YouTube.
Right. No, but he was like, you know what? If somebody gets hurt out there, we're liable. I was like, okay, so in the past, have you ever had anybody like sue y'all for breaking an arm? Because I know my kids have fallen off the monkey bars. They've twisted their ankle running on the property. Like, there's liability of people getting hurt no matter how you look at it. Living life, walking across the street, somebody could trip and fall and, get run over, whatever. Are you liable for that? And he was like, well, this and that. And he had his excuses. I was like, listen, if liability is really what you're concerned about, let's put up a sign. Okay, put up a sign and let the parents make the choice. Because I'll tell you right now, if you're going to continue to make the choices for parents, they are going to continue to go around that and not listen, because we won't submit to people telling us what to do with our kids, what we can't do with our kids, and what we have to do with our kids. And, a lot of us were looking at this like, in the future, there's going to be vaccine mandates. And everyone was like, oh, you guys are just conspiracy theorists. Nobody's going to make you vaccinate your children. Well, they're starting with our husbands.
Yeah. Yep. Where was the city council receptive?
Yeah. He seemed nervous. So he was just kind of standing there, like trying to keep us from like, kind of doing crowd control, I guess what you would say. But he gave me his card and he was like, we'll discuss what you said. This seems like a pretty good idea and we'll, we might go ahead with this. And so we had enough time to do one more park protest in Angleton. And then when we showed up for our third park protest in Clute, the city workers were showing up and removing the caution tape and putting up their sign like as we were showing
No
up.
way.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So then there was some progress.
Yeah.
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 That's exciting.
And so y'all kind of traveled across multiple cities. So you started at McLean, and then you went to Angleton. Which park was that?
Freedom Park.
Freedom Park. Okay. Yeah. Freedom Park. And how did that one go? Did that one go this kind of the same as the first one?
That one was interesting.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
She goes like, look at this. Look at this scar back here.
Yeah.
She pops off her arm.
This is a fake arm. Not even real.
Yeah, we had a lot more cops show up for that one. Like Angleton PD were not playing, and they were a lot more aggressive. Like Jackson was like, kind of like, hey, go talk to city council, whatever. These guys were like, no. And we're like, well, then arrest us.
Oh,
and
wow.
Amy's waiting for a call. Meanwhile, she's like, I'm going to be the one that you call to come pick up the kids when you're arrested. So
I was not present. I said, but if you get arrested, I'll pick up the kids.
So you didn't go because you didn't want to go?
I was taking care of my kids at the time.
Okay.
So
no, and she was my backup person. If I got arrested, somebody needed to come get my kids.
You need what is it? What's the other equivalent of a DD? You know, you need like a jail driver. I don't know.
That's kind of shocking that you're they were kicking back in Angleton. I'd expect like this area specifically to be more open to that. Like, let the kids fucking play. You know.
What is aggressive? Like what's compared to the first time?
Well, the guy from the first one, I don't want to say that he was sweet, but he was just more kind of like chill in his demeanor and his tone of voice and stuff. But the next one in Angleton, they were like very firm. They were just very, their tone was very stern. They're like, you guys aren't going to be out here. You're not going to do this. Taking down that caution tape is destruction to public property and, all this stuff. We can arrest you right now for that. And I'm like, do it. Do it.
Confident.
Yeah.
Confident.
I'm like.
Well, and I think they didn't expect that. They thought if they could just say that they were going to arrest them, that they would back down.
Yeah. Use intimidation tactics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. My stepdad's a cop, so.
So you,
you know a little bit?
I've gone toe to toe with the cops.
Damn.
It's hard to go.
Desensitized.
Yeah. So what's so you get to Clute, the city workers are taking down the barricades. That has to feel like the group was one. What was the expansion in the group like between day one to the time that y'all went to the third? Did it grow exponentially?
Or even the second?
Yeah.
So you had 40 the first. When you went to Angleton, how much did you have?
When we went to Angleton, it was a huge group.
Like 100?
No, not 100. I'd say maybe 50 or so.
Okay.
If you go to our Facebook group, you'll see there's a huge, there's a background picture. That's from our second protest, and it's a really big group. And that picture was taken after some people had already left because, we had already had our run-in with the police and they were gone and we had won and people had appointments or, whatever.
Right.
They're like, okay, on to my next stay-at-home mom business.
And then Clute was more than 50?
Clute wasn't as big. It wasn't. It was maybe 20. People kind of were like, okay, I've been to a couple, I'm good, but it turns out that we weren't really even needed.
Yeah. They put up the sign right then and there. And
yeah. When we were showing up, they were showing up to do the same thing. We thought that they were showing up to cut us off or, they're keeping an eye out for us. We're here. We're going to go toe to toe.
Sandra was sad. She wanted to fight.
I would.
I know.
I had my words ready and I was like, man, this is such a letdown.
Were y'all mainly using social media to promote the protests?
Well, we didn't create events or anything. We had started a messenger group where we discuss it and be like, okay, we're going to be out here at this time. And so only the people in our group would know where we were going to be. And that was mostly to prevent, any opposition coming.
yeah.
Right.
So
what's the next thing? Y'all won the parks. What's the next thing that y'all are working on?
Yeah, so the next thing that's going on in this world, obviously, we have the mandates that have rolled down from the Biden administration and that are directly affecting our families. So, kind of going off of the park situation where we're just taking a small thing of liberty that has been kind of taken away from you. No, you can't go to the park, because there is risk. And now it is kind of evolved into, well, you can't work because of risk unless you do what we tell you to do. You have to take this medical procedure, this injection, which has not been studied long term, and you have to take it in order to feed your family, to have a house, to operate in society. And so we've kind of evolved in that way that we are standing against any government overreach that's currently going on right now. And that's our last protest was actually over those issues specifically with the mandates.
Yeah. So where was that protest at?
It was out at the Brazoria County Courthouse in Angleton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are y'all planning to do like state capitol stuff, like go to Austin and?
Man, I'd love to.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything specifically planned, but we couldn't say that we would never do it.
Right.
Right.
It's all strange because you know the Texas stance, like with Abbott, obviously doesn't believe in it. He's putting trying to restrict private companies from being able to mandate anything. So Texas in general is not really I don't feel like on that side. But then you have the smaller cities, which I feel like have the same opinion. But I don't. How is it received at the courthouse when you went and protested about it?
So we just protested on the steps. I think lots of people driving by. We had the signs and people were honking and their support and things like that. As far as other support, I mean, everyone who was there was obviously, against the mandates. We didn't have any counter protesters or anything like that, but we had the state representative there. We had a speaker from the Ron Paul Institute.
Oh wow!
And who else was here? We had
Tom Belmore from the Texas Nationalist Movement, and we had Elizabeth Day, who is the precinct chair for the Republican Party.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
A speaker for Ron Paul. Do you remember his name?
Daniel McAdams.
Daniel McAdams.
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't ring a bell.
Well, we don't know that much about local politics, unfortunately.
Do y'all plan on doing protests at like some of the bigger companies around here, like some of the plants or?
There has been discussion about possibly doing that. I think everyone's kind of like just like on the seat of their chair, just like waiting, to see where the companies are going to take it. Who's going to be the most aggressive? Who's going to, be like, do it or you're gone.
Yeah.
And that's where it's kind of like, okay, so do we go out there and hold up our signs and yell and get angry and do the stuff, or do we come back at them with lawyers, with just more on the legal side of things? Hey, are you going to be responsible for any adverse reactions I have to this medical procedure? I mean, you're forcing me to do it. In order to be employed here, you must know that there might be repercussions on your end. There might be liability.
Yeah. There's some companies doing it, right? There's some companies around the area that are already mandating.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
But we don't have anybody in our group at this point who has, come forward and said that their husband's employer is forcing it 100%.
Yeah.
but it's coming. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
coming.
still all kind of up in the air. It's bad because it's all top down. It's all from the president's mandate, and then putting weight on OSHA to develop a program, and then OSHA putting weight on the companies. So it's almost like I don't know, going to those companies and protesting. It's like they're being told from the top down. So we have to go even higher to OSHA. But even OSHA, OSHA's being told to make these requirements. So I don't know. You'd have to go pretty high up to protest because that's where it's coming from. But I know they're getting a lot of pushback. There's a lot of people, nurses on social media, quitting their jobs after 10, 20 years. So
Yeah, some people are, they're never going to take the shot. I know some of the issues going on. So the vaccine mandate just actually passed through the Biden administration. The mandate officially went through yesterday.
Right.
So he was basically saying there was going to be a mandate. And a lot of companies went ahead and said, you have to get it by this date. And that was a company policy and not necessarily a national policy. But Biden has now gone through, and the deadline, I believe, is January the 4th for these companies to be in compliance. And he's made it so restrictive, basically, where his mandate has teeth. to go along with it. How is a company going to fight back if for every instance of a person being, without the shot, they get fined about $14,000 per person who does not have it and who is not getting weekly testing. And even if it's an accident in their, in the recording, $14,000 for each person. And then they have also put into the mandate that if you have violated the policy on purpose or you're a repeat violator, it turns into $100,000 or $130,000 per person that has violated it. And how is a company going to survive or fight back in the meantime if you don't have the means to fight it?
Are there stipulations in the mandate that say you can get the vaccine or you can test weekly or daily?
I believe so, but they've kind of set it up where testing is likely to go away. You will not have that option in the future anymore. So they say, oh, but it's okay because you can go get tested. And so you don't have to get it. You can just do testing until that goes away. And it's you either eat or you get the shot.
I heard the big thing is like companies are like, are you going to fund the testing for the 1 week test? Are you going to fund that? And they're like, oh, yeah, you can go get the vaccine and you don't have to pay for anything because it's free.
Right.
So there's not two options. That's the way.
So companies may not want to pay for the shot. That costs them a lot of money as well. So either it's going to be on your dime or likely they're just going to say, we're not doing testing. You get it or you don't. And some places and states are honoring things like medical religious exemptions and some places are not. And I'm not sure how that's going to work with the mandates coming down. And so you end up in a situation where you are forced against your will or, they say, oh, you're not forced. You just have to lose your job. You don't have to work there. You don't have to, you can go find another job with
forced into starvation.
Right. Yeah. So it's coercion then, not instead of, just holding you down. It is a form of coercion.
How are the other, like when the Spanish flu and all that, was the vaccine for that and other pandemics that we had in the past, were they forced, mandated? Do you know?
I can't speak to whether it was forced or not. I'm not sure. Even the Spanish flu was probably herd immunity just from people who got the flu, because pretty much everyone was infected with it.
Yeah. The data is so conflicting too. Like it's hard to find good, accurate data on if you have COVID or you had COVID. Is your immune system more superior than a shot is? Because one day you'll read something out of Israel saying that the vaccine is not as good as actually recovering from COVID.
Yes.
And then like a day later, you'll see something from the CDC saying the vaccine is 60% more reliable than getting or recovering from COVID. So it's like, what is right? There's so much conflicting information out there for us average people that are getting information from, Fox News or, CNN, whatever it is. It's hard to make a choice.
Yeah. So that's one of those things that I feel like statistics can be manipulated, manipulated in different ways to make it whatever they want it to be. I don't believe that they really know, is because there hasn't been long-term studies. Is it, natural immunity, is it going to be stronger? A lot of studies have said yes. I've had COVID and I recovered, and afterwards I helped people who had COVID and I did not catch it again. Now, these people who have had the vaccine, and that is their choice. If they want to go out, they have the vaccine. That's their decision. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be protected from it. They can still spread it. That has been proven. Whether it's exactly the same as an unvaccinated person, maybe not, but it seems that they can still spread it and they could still get sick from it.
Yeah.
And there have been people who have been hospitalized and died from it while fully vaccinated.
Yeah.
So, to say that the vaccine is the answer to everything, I don't think that it is.
Yeah. Like taking politics out of it and taking, the left versus right, all that crap out of it.
Right.
If you just look at it and say, hey, go get the vaccine and you're going to be good. and then come to find out, well, you need another shot, and then you're going to need another one. Like, just again, not looking at it from a political perspective, that seems pretty fucking crazy. Like, right? Like, you need to keep taking the shot. And by the way, you're probably going to need another one in another 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, that just seemed like, from a logical perspective, not taken aside politically, that just seems pretty crazy.
Well, yeah, to give the option too, because I know friends that were for it. They're about to go get it, and then the mandate came out, and they're like, "Wait a minute,
Yeah.
what's going on?" It makes anybody question it. They're like, "Well, why are they making you do it?
Yeah.
Why are there such large threats? Why are there fines?" And there's just something strange about it.
And I think that the biggest thing here is that whether it's safe or not, whether it works or not, they're taking away your bodily autonomy. Like, that is inalienable.
Right.
You know, you have rights to your body. You have the right to say what goes in it. And even if you're working with a doctor and they say, well, I think you should take this medical procedure, it's in your best interest, you still have a right to say no.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's coming from doctors, lawyers, smartest person in the world. I don't care. My body, I'm going to make the choices over my body. I'm going to make decisions for my kids. My husband's going to make decisions for his body, not anybody else.
Yeah.
And to say that they're going to take away his ability to feed his family if he doesn't comply with their orders, that's just wrong. It's wrong.
That's the other thing too is that's kind of ironic is when mostly people on the left, right, they want to force the vaccine. That's statistically or whatever. But when it comes to abortion, it's always, well, it's my right, my choice, my body. Mm-hmm. But then on the flip side of it, they want to force you to take a vaccine. Like what side is it? Right? What do you really want to do? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
is it really our body, our choice, or only on certain aspects or certain subjects that it's applicable to?
Right. And their argument is that the disease affects other people, whereas an abortion only affects the one person. So I find it very ironic because in an abortion, at least 50% of the people are dying.
Yeah.
So, and in this case, you might die from COVID, but it is pretty small chance. And it is not, the government or a doctor is not killing you with it. It is a natural, virus it is a virus that is happening in the world. It's just part of living in the world. There's bacteria, there's viruses. We live in this world that is filled with germs, and sometimes people get sick and sometimes people die, and we're not saying it's okay. We're not saying we want people to die.
Yeah.
We just want the choice to be able to say what goes into our body and what doesn't. And the thing is, even if you support this vaccine particularly and you are in favor of it, if you can have a government say that you have to take a medical procedure, even, anything, then you subject yourself to, in the future, to any vaccine in the future, whether you agree with it or not.
Yeah.
And it opens up, a situation where you have issues like, and I hate to sound dramatic in the effect, but, when the doctors performed all the atrocities in Nazi Germany, that was done against their will. And these were doctors. They were intelligent, smart people, but they committed atrocities on people. And part of that was lack of consent. Yeah. And so we're talking about consent. We're talking about the right to say no to anything, to even a Tylenol. I don't want to take the Tylenol. You don't have to take the Tylenol. You have the right to not do that. Yeah. And so we had the right not to take the vaccine, even if you think that it's going to save your life or to save someone else's life. We're not saying to go out willingly infected.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you're sick, stay home.
In any case. You're
right.
Cold, stay home.
Yeah, we already have those protocols, right?
Yeah.
We don't go out when we're sick. The other eerie thing is there's no accountability for adverse effects of the shot. Nobody's got to say we messed up. Nobody's going to compensate you while you're out from an adverse effect. The companies that make the vaccines have no responsibility over that. And then I don't think the companies will either. The companies we'll have to force it on people. And then if someone, hopefully not, someone passes away, there's no accountability for it. So
right.
You're signing a bunch of papers saying,
Yeah, it's so hard when the vaccine makers say something along the lines of, they have all this immunity, this protection from anything that happens. It's basically, for the greater good. It's okay. They died or they were horribly injured, but it was worth it because we achieved herd immunity.
And it's generalized too. It's like, but that's less than 1%.
Right.
But it's like your mom or your dad or your sister. It's not less than 1% when it's that close to home. It's my family member died.
To them, it's just a statistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how we think now, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
If John's family member died, I don't think he would be happy with. Oh, well, at least it's less than 1%.
It was rare, right? So it's really rare that would happen. So it's everyone else go ahead and get it because it was rare, and you're most likely not going to die, but you might.
The crazy thing too is like, I need to stop saying the crazy thing.
It's all crazy.
We just wanted to.
We have a thing.
We have a thing. We have words that we want to stop freaking saying. Something that's asinine.
There we go.
They're wanting to force the vaccine on children, like kids that have the most, that need, germs and bacteria to build up their immune system. So that's going to be interesting. My wife might be a stay-at-home teacher pretty quickly at the schools.
Yeah, we expect homeschooling to jump pretty quickly if that really comes into effect. And honestly, children are the least affected by COVID. My children both had COVID. I have a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old, and they had it for like 3 days. They had some fever. They had a little bit of a cough, and in 3 days they were better.
Yeah.
And we're not saying that children have never died from it, but I believe that all of them, or almost all of them, had extreme comorbidities going on, like maybe cancer diagnosis or something that caused them, that they could have possibly died from the flu or even, anything.
Yeah.
And so you can't use that as a comparison. The children, and considering that the vaccine does not stop transmission, I'm not seeing the benefit here.
Yeah.
It's just all risk for them.
Yep.
Yeah. And especially since the makers of this vaccine, the people who work for these companies, they are exempted from these mandates. Why do they get to not take it? If I make a dinner and I invite you over and I say, you have to eat that, but I'm not going to eat it. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
What does that tell you?
I'm going to eat a lot of food.
More for me.
I
can't go to
Ignore
jail
the
if
rat
you die.
poison below the sink.
I think for the people that made the vaccine, I feel kind of sorry for them, almost like the cops, that are trying to enforce the city laws, because these are legit scientists that are doing like amazing work. Like I feel like they really want to help humanity and get rid of this virus. But when you start making everything about money, well, there's not, only certain companies can make the vaccine and they can't be generic. That's where it starts getting fishy to me. Once you get the corporations involved.
Right. Well, I just wanted to correct you there. There were no laws in place to keep the parks closed. They were enforcing something that was unenforceable, basically.
Yeah.
Just like a city mandate or something, or what?
It was just the city saying nobody can play at the parks, and they put up tape.
Okay.
I think nobody knew what to do. I think that's never been done. They're putting caution tape around the jungle gym, and it's like they don't know, so they're just doing it, and it's probably very easy to stop doing it once y'all start riding. Like, oh, well, maybe they don't like it, and they can do that. But I feel real bad for just everybody below the president, because I feel bad for OSHA. They have to go and make this rule that they probably don't want to make.
Yeah.
And then they have to put together, I know this 500-page document came out about the rules around it, and it's almost cornering you to get it, but there's a little wiggle room to not get it. And then even the corporations, they don't want to deal with this right now.
Right.
We have such a lack of workforce right now, the supply chain. Whataburger can't get cups right now because there's no
Buc-ee's can't get
employees.
cup.
Nobody has cups anymore. So it's like nobody wants to do this. They just want to keep, the business just want to keep making money and supporting the customers. They don't want to enforce this. So I feel bad for everybody doing it. And it's almost like you have to protest higher.
Yeah, but how? How do you read? It's like OSHA. Okay, let's go, protest OSHA. It's such an abstract,
yes,
thing.
I think
Where are they?
it's like paying your Verizon bill. It's like, no, not paying it, but arguing against something. It's like, you're going to be on the phone all day because there's not a person that wants to give you money back.
It's going to take like the Southwest airline, pilots, like supposedly was it weather? Was it not weather? Was it the mandates? It's going to take groups.
That's another fishy thing.
It's going to take groups like that. Like people who work at Whataburger or Jack in the Box, like we love them, but they're not going to make the waves that we need.
Yeah. Can OSHA walk out on themselves?
They should.
Who are they? Who
they
is
should.
OSHA?
If they have integrity, they should.
Oh, damn safety people.
That's what's gonna help though, is like the husbands actually quitting.
Yes.
And then the workforce depleting, shipments being missed, flights being canceled, like something stopping our regular economy from going. And unfortunately, that's hard moves though. You have kids. The husband's not going to want to do that, and when that time squeezes into nothing, into one day, you're going to be contemplating all day. Well, shit, I'm going to have to get it,
right.
Or I'm irresponsible because I'm not going to have a means of making money anymore.
Right, and that's kind of another aspect to our group. We are not just activists. We are also educating the members of our group on how to prepare. How to make their homes, kind of self-sufficient, where they can still have a way to have food, or at least something that they'll be able to barter for something else, with a neighbor, with a friend, and kind of, bringing these people together so that they'll have a way to, reach out to others who might have something they need when they are going through a time that we can understand.
Yeah.
So we're also a prepping group.
We're also a prepping group.
It's going to take community. I mean, if all these jobs go away, or if you can't get a job anymore unless you have it and you don't want to get it, you're going to have to work together. Yeah. Because it's going to be tough.
It is going to be very hard. A lot of the men are going to be facing this decision very soon, men and women, and they're going to have to say, I need to feed my family. I can't lose my home. Some people are not going to be willing to lose their home. Some people might, but I believe in the end, this is going to be deemed unconstitutional, that it will be removed. At least that's what we're deeply hoping for, because it seems like it's just such a government overreach. But in the meantime, that deadline is looming, and how many people are going to go out and get the shot before the courts have settled it? And I think that is the goal, because, even if it's overturned, almost everyone has gone out and got it. And if they haven't, they've made themselves second-class citizens.
Yeah. Yeah. They're creating an underclass by doing this. And I mean, it's very sci-fi, isn't it? Like, how are we living
dystopian
in this
sci-fi?
Yes. Yeah. How are we living in this world? And now we're going to have like this new weird meta thing Mark Zuckerberg announced.
I can't wait to play in it though. I don't like it, but
can't wait to shoot hoops
until they can literally just shut down your entire life. Oh, we don't like what you say. Whoop.
Yeah.
Well, that's always been a thing. We've gotten comfortable with the things we have, the houses, the processed food, the lifestyle. So once if you're so used to that and it's taken away, we didn't always have all the stuff we have now, the technology. We need a phone now. We didn't used to need a phone, but now we pay, I don't know, $100 to $200 a month for a phone. And if that's taken away, it's like, oh no, my life's gone. So, but we're just accepting more and more things into our lives, and we're going to need them more and more. And then they cost more and more money. It's crazy. So what is y'all's plan forward? I mean, y'all got the parks back in service. Y'all are going to the courthouse and protesting the vaccines. How do you move forward? How do people join the group? It's crazy too. I just never thought of protesting, and it takes something like this to happen. I'm sure y'all never wanted to protest either, right?
I used to do protests when I was like,
oh no,
I protested everying.
Oh really?
Like, how many bathroom breaks? I'm protesting.
Well, you're in the right line of work, huh? Well, I've never thought about it, but I've never really been affected by some of this legislation that's happened, and it's making people uncomfortable and do things that they would normally do, and then go out and protest their rights. So it's cool that y'all are doing that and sticking up for the people that, because some people believe in that, but they're not going to go out and protest. They'll just comply or just or just disagree quietly.
They think that they can be the silent majority or the silent anything, but there's a point in time where you can no longer be silent, because that is just compliance in the end.
Exactly. Yep. Silence is compliance.
So next event, anything?
Nothing on the books yet, but we're definitely thinking up stuff and discussing, and
especially with the mandate officially rolling through. I'm sure there will be lots of opportunities coming up in the next couple months.
Yeah. Hopefully more people who will actually want to come out of their home and, make their voice heard.
Yeah.
Even if they're not speaking, just being there, just seeing the amount of people that, are against it, that is powerful, because if everyone thinks that everyone is complying, no one wants to stand up. Yeah. But if they see that lots of people are going to stand up, even if they had the vaccine already, but they believe that it should be a choice. Yeah. Like they should stand up and stand with one another and let the government know that we're not going to be pushed around. We're not going to be bossed around. This is our life, and we get to decide it. We have the right to life, to liberty, and, the pursuit of happiness. And part of that is liberty.
Yeah. And having an income.
No.
Which is part of liberty.
Yes. Yes.
Which is part of happiness.
Being able to buy our Chick-fil-A and Starbucks.
There you go.
Well,
go ahead. Well, how can, if people want to join, where can they find you on social media and YouTube channel, everything? How do they get involved?
They can find us on the Park Patriots of Brazoria County Facebook group. You just submit your hit the little join button, answer the questions, and we'll kind of gauge, are you there to troll? Are you there to be with the group? Are you going to be active? We need active members. Yeah. So that's how you join. And then once you get in there, we kind of direct you and help you out a little bit.
And YouTube channel, is it?
No, there's no actual Park Patriots YouTube channel. It was just my own personal channel that I had shared our protests on. Nested sparrows.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have TikTok.
No.
I have one, but I don't post anything.
Well, we appreciate y'all coming on and talking about this subject, and it's stuff that that needs to be talked about openly. So we appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Woo!